Hey guys, for those of you who are listening regularly, you might know that the main part of the preparation for the weekly update is reading 40 to 50 newsletters, browsing social media every single day, and having several Google alerts running. And it has never been more difficult to find positive news than the last, 3 to 4 weeks. It has never been more difficult. I don't get it. What is wrong with those people? Everybody is complaining. Oh, the wine is in decline. Our consumption is declining. There are several studies, and people start shitting on either the scientists that are working on that studies that currently are proving that alcohol is not good for you. Oh, well, surprise. Or they start bashing spirits because spirits are even worse than wine. What is the problem? Can't we just focus on a solution rather than complaining about everything? And in addition, not only in Central Europe, the same in the US, we have this frightening development in politics that also have an influence on the industry, on social media. Just stop complaining and start acting. There are so many things you can do that might have a positive effect on everything you're complaining about. And I did the episode 227 just to give you a picture of where you could be as a winery or as a restaurant or a hotel. And I will dedicate episode 229 for more detailed suggestions and solutions. And it is the same for customers, for consumers. If you think you have to complain about offerings in restaurants or wineries, start asking for what you are looking for. If you don't tell people what you're looking for, how would they know what you want? This was a very energetic start in the new episode in the weekly update, and I finally found some good things, especially because it's dry January, and I would say 80% of every feed is dominated by news that are focused on dry January, either talking about alcohol-free products or companies that have great marketing strategies focused on, kicking the ass of dry January. And there is one pub in the UK that had an absolutely freaking amazing idea to get people back to the pub drinking booze. And another thing that is quite interesting, we will start this episode with a development in the supermarkets of France where they reacted to the protests and the violence over the last couple of months. So have fun with this episode and stop complaining if you belong to those guys. And if not, just keep on being positive, being optimistic, and tell people they just should be more happy. Because karma is always coming back to you. And this is why this episode is sponsored by Karma Kiwi. Welcome to the Pinot and Pixel podcast episode number 228 on January 18th, the weekly update. And if you don't know this, January 17th is known as Quitter's Day. So usually people, when they start into the new year, they usually say, oh, well, I want to live healthy, I want to drink less and all this crazy stuff. And according to statistics, January 17th is the day where the majority just breaks the rules again. And this has some influence on marketing as well. We will talk about that in a second. But before that, we want to talk about something that is closely related to the news we were talking about in November and December, the huge protests that were going on in southern France. If you can't remember this, there is an organization that is very, very focused on trying to convince the government to support the local farmers and getting rid of the cheap stuff from Spain. And this can't be the solution. The problem is they don't have any solution. Instead of just, hijacking trucks or burning down, destroying wine. And there was a lot of violence going on. And in the end, French supermarkets reacted with getting rid of Spanish wine. So in the Occitane area, this is the area that was mainly affected, supermarkets said, okay, we will delist the cheap Spanish wine and we'll replace it with local products. And if this sounds like, oh yeah, finally we get rid of the cheap Spanish stuff and following drink less but better, we right now have the good stuff from the local producers. Sorry, guys, they replace stuff like 10-liter bag-in-box from Spain sitting at €20 on the shelf through the French version with 22 or 25. So, well, the shitty stuff still stays shitty, but right now it's not from Spain, it's from France. And I don't know if this could be the solution. At least maybe there will be less protests, but if you want to show people that they should have a bigger focus on local products, regionality, and maybe even sustainability in mind, or at least the CO2 footprint, and drinking less but better, supporting your local dealers, well, this should not be your product. And if you're just looking for the booze, there is cheaper ways to get hammered, guys. You don't have to buy 10 liters of French wine for €22. Yeah. And we can do a calculation right now what this could mean for the quality of the product, but just removing taxes, you should use your brain to calculate that this is just crappy stuff. Generally, it's not the best idea to buy your stuff in supermarkets, your wine in supermarket, but I know that there is a peer group for that as well. And if you guys are listening to this, drink less but better is an idea. Rather than buying 10 liters of crappy stuff, buy just 2 bottles of the good stuff for the same price and enjoy the product while drinking. Well, coming from this, I would say, breaking news of the week to the wave of news that are carried by Dry January. And we start with a well-known brand for this podcast, Princess Cruises. Princess Cruises recently was part of this podcast because they listed Kylie Minogue's products. And right now, they use Dry January to say, we have the first standalone non-alcoholic bar menu from a major cruise brand. And maybe this is correct. And we know that humans love to be the first of something, just to be the first and to use it for marketing, which makes total sense, of course. And right now they have over 10 cocktails, alcohol-free cocktails. They use it for marketing during Dry January. And they have millions of people riding with these ships every single year. And just according to statistics, there might be a big amount of people who are not interested in booze anymore. So it makes total sense to have an offering like that. And I think they will only be the first of many others following that quote-unquote trend, listing alcohol-free products, because it's a no-brainer to have this in your portfolio. And talking about positive developments when it comes to alcohol-free products, there were so many articles this week talking about the development in 2024 and the rise in the percentages of alcohol-free drinks in Germany, in France, in the UK, and in the Netherlands. And this article made it into this podcast episode because we have, barely talked about the Netherlands, but it's a very, very interesting market, especially when we talk about beer. And just to give you a feeling of the consumption in the Netherlands, we are looking at the data of Statista Market Insights, and they have a huge amount of data available when it comes to alcohol consumption. And the most important ones currently are the ones per capita. And this is the graph for the Netherlands, and it is filled up with actual data until June 2024, and the rest is an estimation. But talking about 2023, we talk about 73 liters roundabout per capita when it comes to beer, and 18 liters when it comes to wine. So it's actually a beer country, and you expect a country like this having a higher percentage of alcohol-free beer in the market. And this has changed a lot over the last 3 to 5 years. Currently, every 12th beer, we're talking about 7 to 8%, is alcohol-free in the Netherlands. And there are some brands responsible for that. And the big players are very present in the market: Heineken, Corona, Carlsberg. But there is a local brewery called Van de Streek Beer in Utrecht. They are said to be the athletic brewing of the Netherlands. Smaller, of course, but when it comes to branding, when it comes to marketing and just storytelling. They do so many things right. And I contacted the owner and asked for an interview on the podcast. So maybe in the near future, we will have an interview with Ronald talking about his brand and the major success he had in the Dutch market. I don't know. Could be really interesting. I haven't tried the products yet, but just the branding looks exclusive, looks interesting, and looks exciting, actually. And it reminds me a bit of those craft beers of the last 10 years in the US, where, again, many brands discovered how to make things right when it comes to marketing. So the Dutch market is big, is continuing to grow, and same accounts for Australia. And this is quite interesting because Australia hasn't been the market to be like super relevant for alcohol-free drinks, for alcohol-free products, except this one big brand with international success called Edenvale. And Edenvale, of course, is driving that, is, I would say, leading the change. And the non-alcoholic sector in Australia is set to grow 5% annually for the next 3 years, of course, caused by big brands such as Edenvale, but there are some other brands also very quite present in the industry. We have talked about Gießen in New Zealand, who export to Australia. And I mean, this is also good for Australia because Australia is often seen as a country with a big alcohol problem. So Australia is discovering that alcohol-free products might be a thing. And this is not a, who should be surprised by that? Because when we talk about Western-oriented civilization, people are similar. We were talking about trends more globally, and Gen Z is Gen Z. We have seen how impactful social media platforms can be on trends, especially when we're talking about memes, or just think about Dubai chocolate. I mean, this trend was created on TikTok, and everybody's just going crazy on chocolate with pistachio and nuts, and yeah. So Australia, they get it as well, and this is why Australia is seeing this rise over the next 3 to 5 years. A country that is very big already when it comes to alcohol-free products is the US, and we see more and more, I would say, classic, well-known producers entering the space. And the next one, and this is very exciting because I know the demand, is Bouchaine. Bouchaine is one of the big names in Napa Valley. And I had a, 1985 Pinot Noir, I guess, from them, from Los Caneros. Amazing product. And everybody has his or her favorite winery when you talk to the experts or just to the locals in Napa Valley, but everybody knows Bouchaine. So they're quite present in the national and also in the international market. And they have discovered that there is a growing interest in visitors, in consumers, and generally in society for alcohol-free products. So what they are offering right now is a 2023 vintage, a state-grown, non-alcoholic rosé. So it's their own grapes processed at the winery, then giving to a contractor to get rid of the alcohol, vacuum distilled, and then sold at the winery with the winery's branding, with a cork on top of the bottle. And I mean, I haven't tasted it, but this bottle just looks like $25, and it just suits it. It's a perfect fit for the existing portfolio. And I think, I mean, just looking at the storytelling they do on the website, there are so many things that are catching consumers' attention. Even if you are a fan of the normal Bouchaine products, you want to try that. And this is what I was talking about in episode 227. You don't have to be concerned about your normal wine portfolio when you start adapting to trends. When you start, I don't know, offering more sparkling wine or more white wine or alcohol-free wine, because you won't lose customers with that, but you will win others. Or some people might say, oh yeah, well, it looks like they know how to deal with trends, and this is a brand I like. And this happens with almost every brand we as human beings feel connected with. And this is why also brands who just don't get it lose all their customers and finally run out of business. So I will probably be in the United States again this year. I'm not sure at the moment, but this bottle just looks like I want to try it. So if you are in the US and you're listening to this, I know that this is more premium priced, not only for wine, but also for the alcohol-free stuff. But this looks like you should try it when you are in the area. Unpaid advertisement, but this could be one of my examples for the blueprint of going alcohol-free as a well-established winery with a good reputation. Now, so coming from one trend, alcohol-free, to another one, AI, and staying in California. There have been many articles over the last 2 years how AI can transform the wine industry. And I mean, I am talking about things like that at universities in Austria. And it is a thing. And it's the same with alcohol-free products. If you want to go with the flow, adapting trends, and especially if you want to be more efficient in your winery, you should think about using artificial intelligence with tools, with software, and with hardware in your winery. And one more example was recently published on January 14th. It is called How AI is Transforming the Ancient Art of Fine Winemaking. Because, if you're a traditional winery, no matter what country you're located in, the usage of AI might feel a bit awkward for several people because tradition and artificial intelligence, it feels like a contradiction, But when you look at the processes of wineries, of estate wineries, of boutique wineries, of wineries that are focused on crafting high quality products, the processes are almost the same in every single winery. So if you want to be more efficient, just look at the processes and think about what can you do to have a useful approach to artificial intelligence. And in that case, we are talking about Chateau Montelena. Yes, Chateau Montelena, the winery that is responsible for the huge success of Napa Valley. In the Judgment of Paris in 1976 with their Chardonnay, they won the white wine tasting. And I mean, they built a big reputation, traditional winery, but highly sophisticated, fine wines, expensive wines. And if you want to try the 1976 Chardonnay, there are a few websites offering products like that. For example, Wine Consigneurs in LA. And well, every now and then you can grab a bottle for roughly about $40,000. So yeah, but not talking about history. We are talking about today. And the winemaker is working. His name is Matt Crafton. He is working more and more with, I would say, the artificial intelligence we would expect at the moment. So what they are doing is they have access to a huge amount of data, and then they are looking for patterns. So what they are doing is they have a lot of sensors installed, and they walk down the vineyards, taking pictures or videos, uploading it to a server, and then the AI can do its thing. And as they said, it started with facial recognition for people entering the winery, or the recognition of vine health when you just walk through the vines. And in addition, they took high-resolution pictures with drones and just with cameras of all the vineyards and analyzed them to find those micro patterns where it might be a good idea to work differently with the grapevines. And in addition, and this was the most exciting part of this article, they figured out how to plant new vines on slopes. So basically what you do in almost every wine region in the world, you look where the road is and then you plant as close to the road as possible because, you're working with tractors and other machinery and you want to be as close as possible to roads to have the vineyard more accessible. Let's put it like this. And what they say is, quote, the people who set out the roads are the California Department of Transportation, and they don't really care about farming, end of quote. So it would be logical for us as a winery to analyze the data, how steep the slope is, where to put the vines to have the most efficient angles for our vines. And the AI figured out that the most efficient one is approximately 25 degrees east of true north. the winemaker says. This precise angle ensures that during the hottest part of the day, the sun shines on top of the canopy rather than directly on the grapes, protecting the delicate compounds that give the wine its flavor and character. Isn't that crazy? And just by analyzing pictures of drones, and you just took yourself from the vineyard, this is absolutely amazing. And I mean, 10 to 15 years ago, this was a project that costed thousands and thousands of dollars. And today you can do this with, I don't know, with just small tools. And I think even if you have access to paid versions of some AI models, it might be even possible to do it like this. Just to be clear on that and not getting too nerdy for those of you who are not super techy. There are so many things possible right now when we're talking about the useful work with artificial intelligence in every company. Thinking about the adjustment of small processes with tiny little steps, with the usage of AI, just talking to a chatbot or simple tools that have pattern recognition in the background using a huge amount of data you just have put in, because the whole hospitality sector, the whole drinks industry, we have a huge treasury of data we should use to get better in the things we're doing. And I have so many clients, winemakers and producers who tell me, I want to be a farmer. I don't want to care about administrative processes or certifications and stuff. And especially today, this is possible way easier even for the small producers, just with tiny little steps. I'll put the link in the show notes if you're interested in that. So just keep an eye on the development in artificial intelligence in the industry. Listen to this podcast. We will share some examples every now and then. And if you want to dive deeper, just let me know. podcast@pinotpixel.com. And talking about the future, using technology in the vineyard, in the wine cellar, the university in Vienna called Technikum Wien offers a Robotics Day 2025. The entrance is for free, 8 hours in the University of Applied Science in Vienna on January 23rd. This is next Thursday, I think. And they have lots of projects going on. There are talks, there are workshops. And I mean, it's just an amazing offer. And as I said again, it is for free, unpaid advertisement. It's just amazing to see things like that offered by universities, which are the closest ones you can get to the current development in science and technology. So if you're interested in that, the link is in the show notes. And talking about technology, one of the most successful companies in the wine sector is Vivino. Vivino was founded in 2011. Amazing documentary on, where was it? Netflix or Amazon Prime? Check it out. There's an amazing documentary on the founder of Vivino, because when he started the company, he said, I want to have people's reviews on wines to give people easier access to if a wine is tasty or not. Because to that time, there were just those 90-something point reviews of the big people, the big names in the industry. And over the last 14 years, it turned out to be the most successful application when it comes to wine reviews and stuff. They have over 60 million users. They have a lot of data available. And recently, a Cambridge study compared the reviews people gave on Vivino with the reviews of the experts. And guess what? There is a correlation between. So what does this mean for the industry? The point systems are becoming less and less interesting. People are relying more on the reviews of customers like they are, and we are not talking about Amazon and stuff. We also talk about the wine industry, and one of the biggest reasons to buy products in wine and in other industries are the reviews of others. And in addition, as an application like Vivino, where you know that, I don't know, the palate of the consumer, or let's put it in a different way, my palate is shaped like this and that, and I like this style of wine better than the other one, you can give me recommendations what to try next. So again, with the use of artificial intelligence, or at least pattern recognition, you can give recommendations what to buy and what to drink. And right now, with this study, we also know that there is a correlation between some of the people rating the wines professionally and the ratings that were given on Vivino. So what this study showed us is that Vivino average ratings correlated substantially with the ratings of most professional wine critics, with a total correlation average of 0.4. And in addition, professional critics' ratings still correlate more strongly with each other than with Vivino. And I mean, there's a difference between a trained palate that can differentiate between quality and taste. On the other hand, usually wine critiques, they focus more on the things they like as well. So they just don't taste everything. And this also accounts for the people who are using Vivino. But Vivino as an application has everything available. The second thing that was identified by the study is that you can really see a difference in the ratings or an influence on the ratings depending on the climates, on the weather situation, on the climate of the single vintages. So, for example, the data they were working with were Bordeaux vintages from 2004 up to 2016. And if you are more familiar with Bordeaux, you know that there are some vintages that are better and some that are worse, considering the weather situation in that specific vintage. And some of the worst between 2004 and 2016 was 2013. And again, they were able to spot a correlation between the professionals and the people who are just using Vivino. And secondly, you were able to see that with a better climate, the reviews were getting better as well. So there is an impact on, well, the quality, the taste of wine, and then in the result on the ratings of the wines and Vivino, depending on the weather situation. And I mean, sounds logical, doesn't it? But right now it has been proven. And when we look on the right side of this graph over here, where you see the average Vivino rating and the average rating of the expert, 2005, 2009, 2010, 2015, and 2016 were among the best. And these are the greatest vintages over the last 25 years. It makes total sense. I would have loved to see 2003 on that map because it was the hottest vintage in history. But, well, and it's also logical to see 2013 on the lower left part of the graph. It's not the worst idea to rely on the ratings on Vivino, especially when we talk about more niche-y products. Of course, you can't compare them with each other. The products that are just rated by taste and usually have a balance between acidity and sugar, but are sitting on the, higher sugar level or are just mass produced to be balanced, are rated by thousands of people, and you can't compare a Moet et Chandon standard champagne to a 1996 vintage Bordeaux Saint-Emilion Grand Cru, But there might be a high percentage of finding what you are looking for when the application knows your taste, when you have done some reviews and the AI is working properly. So if you were a fan of Vivino, that is great. You can stay it. If you haven't been a fan of Vivino, consider using it for the future. Because I recently had a colleague over here who was interested in some old wines, and he said, it is so tough to navigate. How do I choose my wine when I'm sitting in the restaurants? And I mean, I already have a tiny little clue of Bordeaux, but I can keep the regions in mind, maybe one or two vintages and two or three names. But if I'm giving a list of, 240 wines, how can I choose? And the good thing is, usually with a wine list like that, you have a sommelier in place who can give you recommendations. And in addition, we see also a change in the behavior of restaurants and hotels when it comes to the wine list. We will talk about that in episode 229, but just talking about two or three facts, what is happening in people's minds, especially when we talk about Generation Z and the effects on restaurants and hotels and on wine shops and also on wineries. There was an article in the Business Insider called Gen Z's Booze-Free Run. And it's not only talking about alcohol-free stuff, it's generally talking about the changes in hospitality. Big focus, episode 229. I'll put the link in the show notes. And to finish my point, coming from Vivino, wine lists are getting smaller with only maybe 30 or 40 wines available. That's so you have a smaller choice, but you are invited to explore more things. You have alcohol-free options on the menu to choose from, or just to zebra stripe, one wine, one alcohol-free product, one wine, or same with beer. And you have the possibility to find a high-quality product for your food pairing, because food is focus. Link of the Business Insider article is in the show notes. Sometimes there's a paywall, sometimes it's not. Use Google to find your version of the article. And last but not least, to finish this weekly update with a banger, I was talking about a very crazy but super smart marketing coup in the UK. Friday, January 17th, is said to be Quitter's Day. So this pub in the UK said, well, we have this cheap rice beer lager from Asia called Asahi beer. And on January 17th, we will offer for 2 hours 100 pints that are sitting at 17 pence a pint for people who just want to quit or who have already quitted. And what I really liked about the idea was it's not just like coming to the pub and saying, I want one of these hundreds. No, you have to apply for the beer. How to get your 17 pence pint. The venue is asking customers to head to the bar and confess their abandoned Dry January pledge to claim their pint. Whether Dry January or another failed resolution honestly will be rewarded. It comes with a catch, though. There are only 100 pocket-friendly pints, as I said, available between 12 and 2 p.m. So when this episode is published, this offer has already expired, but it's just crazy. I mean, people will talk about your place. You will get more people in there than you can handle, most probably. And in addition, people will start drinking. And if they are even smarter, they will offer an alcohol-free version from the tap. Because maybe there will be some people just checking out what is actually going on, or they just want to fight their arguments about Dry January. But if you offer alcohol-free products or beer by the tap, well, you can probably make everyone happy that just arrived. So if you want to quit Dry January and you are not able to grab your 17 pence pint, just choose an alcohol-free one from the tap or the bottle. This is it, guys. A crazy weekly update, mostly focused on alcohol-free drinks and some interesting marketing coups. We'll talk about some options, some possibilities for 2025 to conquer the crisis, quote unquote, in the drinks industry. And right now, have a great weekend. See you on Wednesday. Ciao, ciao.